I probably would have busted this test, or at least on pipe. I haven't done a plate test since I was in welding school. If you want to watch the video where I put the bead and hot pass in this plate here, I'll link a video in the description of this video so you can go watch it. In this video, I'm going to be filling and capping 3-bead cap on this plate with 1/8 60-10. Also, at the end of the video, I'm going to share with you why I think I wouldn't have passed with this particular bead that I put in this particular plate. As I'm welding, I'm going to do my best to explain what I'm doing, and then even after I'm done welding, I'm going to explain what I did, maybe the angles and what I did to compensate for whatever was going on with my puddle to help my puddle run better. So hopefully this video helps you with your 60-10 stick welding. Also, I wanted to remind you about the branch workshop that we have coming up in March. Here is a review from one of the participants of the first workshop. We had a good time. They learned a lot. I definitely learned a lot. So hopefully this second workshop in March will go a little smoother. I just can't describe how much I learned in that first workshop. But anyway, if you're wanting to become a pipeline welder, or maybe you just want to get better at stick welding in general, and maybe just fitting in general with a torch, with a grinder, and you just want to kind of round out your mobile welding skills, I highly recommend the branch workshop. But the reason I say pipeline welder is because the most common pipeline weld test is a butt weld of some sort on whatever size of pipe, and then after that, 9 times out of 10, at least through my 8 years of pipeline welding, I had to take this 12-on-12 branch test. So if you're serious about becoming a pipeline welder and you want to walk confidently into your first pipeline weld test, or maybe it's your first test that's 20 hours away from the house and you're just a little bit nervous because of how far away that is, I want to invite you to the branch workshop, where I can be there personally to help you learn how to do the branch test. As some of you already know, I'm a huge fan of prepping as much as possible when it comes to your first weld test. Obviously practicing on pipe as much as you can, practicing stick welding in general, even on plate like we're going to do in this video, is very beneficial to preparing yourself for any weld test, but especially a pipeline weld test that might be 20 hours from the house. By not prepping as much as possible for a test that is 5, 10, 20 hours away from your house, you take the risk of losing out on a good amount of money. So an average pay for a rig welder on pipeline nowadays is anywhere from $3,500 to over $5,000 per week. So if you're on a pipeline job for a month, you're missing out on roughly $14,000 to $15,000, but you have the potential to miss out on 3, 4 months, 5 months worth of work, which is $50,000 plus. So I highly recommend being as prepped as possible, and I know welders personally that I've met over the years, over my 8 years of pipeline welding, that literally would not take a pipeline test if it involved the branch test. Because there are pipeline tests where you don't have to take the branch. They're just fewer and far between. There were guys I worked with that chased drilling rigs, you know, they didn't pipeline full time, or they looked for those little jobs where they didn't have to take the branch because they didn't feel confident in taking the branch test. Or here's a situation I just thought of, is some jobs, I don't think I got to do this, but I remember my brother telling me about jobs he went on where they would test you in just to weld on the firing line, so that all you had to do was take that first test, but you couldn't go on tie-ins or be on fabrication unless you took the branch test. And the welders that are on the firing line are normally the first ones to get laid off of a project. If you're on tie-ins or fabrication, you're usually one of the last welders on a project. So therefore, you just weren't as valuable. So by learning how to do the branch and feel confident in taking the branch test, you are making yourself more valuable as a rig welder, therefore making you more money and being more valuable to yourself and your family and your well-being. So that's one of the reasons why I chose the branch to teach in the in-person workshop, because for one, you have to take it on majority of pipeline jobs that you go on, and for two, it's valuable to anybody that's wanting to become more valuable as a mobile rig welder, running a torch and running a stick welder. It's just a good basic thing that you gain a lot of basic skills out of. So to sign up for the workshop or read more about it, head on over to arosswelding.school. And I'm gonna go on one side here. Yeah, I'm mostly just keeping a tight arc. I'm keeping that rod shoved in down in the puddle. And I'm covering about 2/3, if not about 3/4 of that bead underneath. Here comes the toenailing. So I'm going to adjust my angle. I adjusted my angle a little bit, and then I shoved the rod down in there some more. Yeah, so I covered a little over half of that pass underneath. And then from here to right in here, whenever it started toenailing, I was kind of angled this way. So I was kind of angled this way because I was, welding up on this bevel over here. So I had a slight angle this way. But then whenever it started toenailing, I brought the top of the rod towards me and then shoved my rod down in that puddle some more. And then I tried to get back to the angle I was at. So on this next pass, I'm going to point it away from me a little bit, straight in or away from me a little bit. And then I'm just going to, the motion I'm doing is kind of, again, whatever it takes, but I usually start out with something like this. I usually start out with kind of just a whipping motion, but I may start doing little side-to-side motions to control that flux, because that's what I'm doing, is I'm trying to control the way that flux is breaking off there, because that's ultimately, where you're, right after that is what you're leaving down. So if you can control the way that flux breaks off, you can control better what your weld looks like or what it needs to be doing. Welding bevels, it's not always about looks, it's about trying to keep it clean. So, but you need that puddle to do right to try to accomplish that. I'm gonna set you all up over here, and then that way you can kind of watch my angle, like my body, what my arms and legs and everything are doing, or maybe not legs, but I mean kind of, but you can see the angle better and stuff. So yeah, so I'm mostly doing a whipping motion right now, and I'm keeping my rod shoved in there because that helps control the way my flux is breaking off. Starting to toenail real bad. So I'm kind of in survival right now. I'm just kind of doing circles. I'm gonna have to get a new rod, I think. Yeah, the shorter this rod gets, the more it toenails. But yeah, I was doing literally whatever it took to, angling it this way, pushing the whole rod side to side, just sinking it in that metal to try to get the flux to break off evenly. A little low right in here, so I may run me a little pass from here to here, but other than that, it's ready to cap. Okay, so I've turned my machine back down to where I put my bead in with. That's sometimes a good rule of thumb, not always, but sometimes. I'm gonna start over here. Yeah, I kind of need to be a little cooler, for my likings anyway. But to compensate for that, I'm just gonna shove my rod in there some more. It kind of snuffs it out and makes it feel a little cooler. I've been using the same welding rod this whole time, 1/8 60-10. My plan is to put 2 more passes. One on top of that one and then one to cover up this edge. You notice how I left this edge. That was intentional. I did that on purpose so I could make my weld straighter. As far as my angle on my cap, I was kind of angled back a little bit and angled mostly straight in. I guess maybe a little bit this way. Maybe a little, but mostly straight in. A whip motion. A whip, keeping it shoved in to control that flux, and then kind of angled this way a little bit, kind of dragging it. Okay, let's do the next one. It's toenailing bad already. I'm doing a little bitty. I'm not putting much in it here because I learned quickly that it was putting too much in it. Just off those first few ripples, I noticed how much metal I could put in, and I don't need that much, so I just sped up my travel speed. All right, one more pass. So if this was 70-18, I'd probably want to grind in there, but with cellulose, with this downhill rod 60-10, it'll burn all that out. It digs and deposits better than 70-18, or it's more forgiving, I should say. 70-18 digs, but it's not as forgiving. See how I got both my hands on my stinger? That's a good habit to practice whenever you're learning. That way you don't burn up your gloves as quick. Sometimes you gotta put that other hand up there and hold the rod, but like I said, it's just a good habit to practice. I mean, that is a toe-nailing rod there when it gets to the end like that. Turn this around. Turn that wire wheel around like that and really polish it up for the old inspector to come on. There you have it. 3-bead cap, 1/8 60-10. Root pass. Let's brush this off and look at it closer. I do believe I may have busted my test, depending on the inspector. I'll show you why. I will show you why. Because of this, and because of this. Possibly this too, but just because tie-in's not that great. I don't know. All depends on the inspector and the specific test. But I know I don't like that or that. Let me know down in the comments what you learned from this video, or anything that you want to add, you know, any tips and tricks that you may have about welding with 6010 in bevels. I'm sure there's others that are watching that would love to hear more feedback that are working on their stick welding skills. And like I said, if you want to learn more about the in-person branch workshop, head on over to arosswelding.school. Link will be in the description below. Also, if you want to get future updates about future workshops or this workshop, maybe it's a little early to be reminding you because it's several weeks away still yet, but you want to get reminded whenever it gets closer, make sure and leave us your email in the newsletter section. I think it's called newsletter on that website, arosswelding.school. You'll just want to give us your name and email. That'll put you on our email list, and so whenever we send out emails about the workshop, you will get notified. And for those of you that may not be aware, if you can't find an email from anybody that you're trying to get information from online, always check your spam folder and your promotions folder. Sometimes emails get sent there automatically, so be on the lookout in those two places. Have an awesome day. I hope to see you at the workshop come March. And remember, learn something every day.